because you cannot tile a classroom with no dirisha, with no window, with no good roof. So we do tiling as a culmination of the other holistic work. And we do that through labor-based. You are accountants. It's a very tedious process, but we decided it is the best for value for money. We standardized all our works to make it more efficient and cost-effective. All our dirishas, they open on one side. All our doors are the same gauge. Our painting is the same. Because when you standardize, you are able to track quality, but you are also able to scale. So that's why we are able to achieve so much with so little. We also run a program, called Kiharu Masomo Bora. Kiharu Masomo Bora is a program that targets day school learners. And Kiharu, as I said, is large. We have over 12,000 day school learners in secondary school, senior secondary alone. And in all our day secondary schools, which are actually 65 in number, seven we have built new from scratch out of that 65. All the learners only pay 500 shillings per term as school fees. And the program is predominantly supported by NGCDF. And they eat in school from Monday to Saturday. And those of us, I'm sure, depending on our staple food in the various parts of Kenya, our schools eat our staple food from Monday to Saturday. So in our place, we have changed. They eat our staple food, which is githeri, 3 days, and then some rice 3 days. And they also take chapati every last Friday of the month of our lunch. And I'm not saying that we are piloting. This program has been running for the last 3 years. We only lowered the school fees. This year, but it has been 1,000 since 2023. So it's a program that has been running. And I was trying to lower it so that I see very well. So the program has been running for the last 3 years, and we are not doing it for today's output. This program, I do it for decades output. When we have everyone acquiring quality education, ni kama vile unapanda mahindi. Upandi mahindi uvune kesho, ama unapanda mti ya mangoes. You don't plant it to start the next season. We do it because we know the future of our economy, and especially of our taxonomy called Kiharu. The biggest input we can have is education. And that is why we go all out. And we also support those who are in boarding schools. We support those who are in tertiary institutions, in the soft side, that is making sure they are in school, because education basically is the reason you are in this hall. If you remove it from you as a product, as an input, there is no way you'd be in this hall. And the best way to give that opportunity to as many as possible is to make sure that they access what we accessed at the most minimal cost. I'm done about Kiharu. So I am here now at ISPAC and AWAC. Such a program, such an event or such a conference, there is a lot that can be said, and especially by us who have been privileged to be invited here as speakers. And therefore, when you see me, I'm cherry picking a few points from that are not so coherent. It's because I would have wanted to cover as much as possible, but time is limited. So I'll be moving from maybe this pora to the next, so that we cover some more ground in terms of breadth and length. But I have been listening to many issues around women empowerment. And from where I start now, we are now past when we could be invited in such a function to come and sympathize. I'm sure you have attended those kind of functions as women or ladies, where the The theme is like sympathizing with how ladies and women have been left behind. We are no longer now there, and I'm very proud about that. Now women and ladies are even showing the way. In many instances, we are following. And that is a very good point to start, because what makes our society is all of us, in all our demographics, not just gender, but also age. Not just age, but our backgrounds. That is what we call a society. And when we say that Kenya is progressing, or Africa, or the world, and I'll be leaning, when I talk about, I'll be leaning more on the economic side and investments and anything about money. So even when I'm saying advancing, I mean that side. So when we say that the world is advancing, what do we actually mean? We mean the livelihoods are becoming better. We mean the cost of living is becoming lower relative to the income. And we mean that the incomes are going higher relative to the standard of life that we need to keep up with. For the economy to grow, when we talk about the economy, is usually us. There is no drawer in an office called government called the economy. There is no drawer utaambiwa fungua hiyo drawer ndio ya economy. Funga sasa tuende hii nyingine hakuna. The economy is us here, our parents in our various villages, our aunties in our various estates, our uncles in their various places of work, and our mothers in our various offices. That is all the economy is. When we add what we are all doing called output, it is what gets measured, and then we say the GDP grew, or the GDP did not grow, it grew faster or didn't grow faster. And therefore, when we talk about incorporating all of us, men, women, the young, the not very young, across all demographics, we are actually talking about the growth of our economy. Because economy also measures productivity. Productivity is, we are 100 people who their total output is what becomes the GDP. So the more I produce, and the more the other persons produce, the total sum, which is the economy, then increases. What I want to mean is this. When we were growing up, and the generations behind our that came before our parents, some of the demographics, majority of us in this hall would be dependents. There is a language I want to avoid totally in this seminar, so I know you mtavuta ili mshike what I'm trying to say. We would be at home doing what? Doing work at hapo nyumbani, kuangalia boma. So what that means is that we throw in the productivity of half of the population to below what is recorded by the government figures. How wise would that be to any economy? That's why sometimes I sympathize with these economists who try to oppress women. I sympathize with them even futuristically, because you are cutting off half of the population not to be productive. What that means is that the productivity of the other half, then when you look for average, it will be half of itself. Because if half increases by 100, but the other half does not increase by anything, the average then is 0 to the half of this other one. So the productivity for everyone on average goes down. And therefore, the issue we talk about equality, equity, giving opportunities to everyone, including our sisters, our mothers, it should not be an issue we are discussing in conferences. It should never, because it is the most reasonable, logical thing to do. That you give a lady the opportunity to do what they can do best. Because as they advance their productivity, the productivity of the entire economy then progresses. So equality, equity, opportunities for all, starting from education, that is not an issue that people should discuss. It is an issue that we should all implement, and especially at the macro sense. I'll highlight a few points because the chair told me, Kuja Mombasa, let's not talk too much difficult jargons. And because you had other speakers, that's what the chair told me. These people are waiting to hear from you about investments. So the other points, I thought they are important, but I'll go direct to what you are looking for. Because we had very distinguished speakers who would highlight the other areas better than myself. But allow me a few minutes to highlight some few things that I thought are important, because here we have people serving in the public sector, we have people serving in the private sector, we have people with or running their own businesses. And there are things that cut across, which I also learn when I'm speaking about them. And it's about leadership, it's about impact, and it's about sustainable growth. Not about the country, about ourselves, our organizations, our businesses. So don't look at it purely about, you work for the Central Bank of Kenya, so you just zero into the Central Bank of Kenya. You look at it expansively. The first thing is that many times we confuse that leadership is just being elected. That you've been elected as an MCA, as an MP, all the way to the highest position. But leadership happens across. Even where you are not in middle-level management, you are also a leader. So we must carry that obligation without necessarily passing over to the next boss. Let the responsibility rest where you are, so that you provide solutions to the level where you are. Political leaders, business leaders, social impact leaders, whatever we do, because we cannot all fit in the bank to become CEOs of the bank, we can't all fit in to become politicians. Wherever we are serving, you may actually end up having higher impact where you are serving more than I could have as a politician. The second thing I have come to appreciate about leading with integrity. And because like all of you here, we all have ambitions of becoming very wealthy and rich. I can tell by the faces that I am seeing, you all want to be rich and wealthy. And even if in a home, financially independent, we all want that. Yes, you are somebody's wife, mother, but there's nothing wrong with being financially independent. Even supporting him when he needs a boost. Unfortunately, there is no much response. So, I have come to appreciate that I have never studied the wealthiest people in Africa or the wealthiest in Germany or France or the world where I have seen a swindler being featured. I have never seen somebody being featured in the Forbes list. And the designation is that they stole money using a pen. I have never seen one. I have also never seen one person being celebrated, receiving any prize, be it Nobel or any otherwise. And the designation there is that he was too intelligent in stealing. And therefore it means, in whatever we are doing, money is not the head of it. If money is not the head of it, it means you can get more of it by not looking at it as the head. But it is also important to get money where you can sleep at night and you don't have bad dreams. And I can say that loudly. You'd rather have in fact, the money you look with your own heart and brain, somehow it comes with its own fertilizer. Unaweka pahali, matunda ni mingi. Hii ingine kwanza, the harm, the mental torture of trying to hide from what you did last week, the energy you put into that would be enough to make you double the money. So leading with integrity. And I'm not here as a moralist. I'm here as a pragmatist. The third thing is, as we lead, including Kiharu, all of us here, whatever leadership role we are having, because majority of us are already having those leadership roles. Collaboration. When you are a leader and you want to grow and you can't collaborate, it means you're already crowding yourself. Because whatever I do as member of parliament for Kiharu, when I come here and hold the mic and I talk about Kiharu Masomobora, practically think, am I in Kiharu today? Am I supplying rice or unga ya ngano ya kupika chapati? It means there is a lot of collaboration with teams, with the principals, with officers in my office, that is the staff, with the people involved. When we talk about projects we implement through labor-based, it is not me who go there to supervise. It is the collaboration. But what gets reported, the chair will hold the mic when you invite Ndindi Nyoro in a function, and he will say he's been rated as the best performing MP. Just think about that. Think about that with the position you hold. A best performing MP. Where are all these other people then? Because I've never held a shovel to build a classroom. But she holds the mic and says, tupigie makofi mheshimiwa. Amefanya kazi ya Kiharu masomo bora. Fine. I'm not the implementer. What am I trying to say here? As a leader, if you don't have the capacity to collaborate, it is important from today you teach yourself through polishing your personality to be a leader who collaborates. Because collaboration does not only help the team members, it actually helps you as the leader. Because what you'll get reported at the end is what the team did, and you are the representative of the team. Collaboration means you also feel the other people, you also provide solutions, you show the way, but you also listen so that you can continue making the system better, the system of the area that you serve and work. There is a course specifically I am pursuing on navigating through challenges and opportunities. It's one of the courses I'll be undertaking at Harvard. That course, there is something I want to investigate beyond what you all know. Because there is something I've seen. We remember Margaret Thatcher. We remember Angela Merkel. We remember all these ladies, Wangari Maathai, and the others. In functions, we show their photos for inspiration. A photo will be put here for inspiration of a lady who did so well, of a man who did so well, Winston Churchill and the rest. But there is usually no footnote or another slide showing the kind of challenges they went through. So when you are leading and when you are progressing, it will be naive for us to think that you'll get a straight line, which you can see from here the head. That's not how things are framed. We must know that the people we read and they inspire us, we only usually see the one side, ile wamejipaka mafuta na makeup. We don't see the other side, where they even never had time to comb their hair, they never had time to apply even Vaseline on their face. That area we don't see. When we talk about Margaret Thatcher, no one of us here would raise their hand and say she was bad. But do you know in the 1981, Margaret Thatcher approval rating was 19%. It means she was so down, no one in Britain wanted to see her. But you are here with your small challenge in your office. This is the one that just hit you fast and you're almost giving up. My friend, you can't afford to do that. Because there is no history book anywhere that remembers people who did so well without conquering challenges. So when challenges come, they should make us stronger in our various areas. Oh, huyu bosi wangu mtu bure. Sasa hata ukifanya hii hasikii. That's a good challenge to handle. The other challenge, and the other. I'm avoiding to go to specifics because we are very diverse here in terms of where we work. You are an MP, and then a small challenge hits you. You can't think. The people we read and admire, part of the reason we admire them is conquering challenges, whatever diversity is. The other thing is mentorship. Mentorship is both backward and forward. Backward mentorship is the one you become a mentee. And I can tell you, some of these things we started hearing them from nursery school. Mentorship, integrity, nini, all those things are, every time you come to a seminar, you can always start taking notes of the things that will be spoken there. And before you attend, you already have the notes. It's because of their importance, and it's also because I think somehow it is known we hear but we don't do. So we need to keep on reminding ourselves. There is a story I always give. When I left campus, not when I left, when I was in first year, I started working for a stockbroking company of our former MP called Genye Karaoke. Ilikuwa inaitwa Genye Karaoke and Company Stockbrokers. In my first year, long vacation. A stockbroking company of our former MP Genye Karaoke. Just listen to this again. A stockbroking company in my first year in campus of our former MP Genye Karaoke. I'm repeating because that's the point I want you to get. I was first year, I started working in a stockbroking company owned by a person who was MP for Kiharu. I am here. Most of what I do, economically speaking, is in the capital markets, meaning stockbroking and the rest, and investments, and I'm MP for Kiharu. Do you think that is a coincidence? That is not a coincidence. That him, who is Genye Karaoke, used to be a youth winger of our other former MP called Kenneth Matiba. That our current governor, Iroko Kangata, and myself were youth wingers of Genye Karaoke when he died in Kiharu in 2007. That Iroko Kangata became MP for Kiharu, and that Nyoro is the current MP for Kiharu. And that all those people are not related by blood. Even if I say nothing else about mentorship. Mentorship is not about, oh my, nikitaka kuwa kama Olive Mogenda. Nikitaka kuwa kama governor this or that, governor Achani. Mimi nikitaka nikuwe kama Family Bank CEO yule Nancy. Sawa sawa, tumekusikia. Tumekusikia na umesema vizuri. And then nataka kuwa MP. You know, I'm already a CPA. Mi hata nataka nikuwe mbunge. Ndio hii ujuzi niko nayo nipeleke huko bunge. And then practical mentorship, you have to get from your comfort zone and go to learn in the field. You have to look for that person who you admire to be like. Even if hawapatikani, follow them in terms of their mienendo, what they do. And I can tell you for sure, it will be wrong for you to run your own experiences, to run into a ditch, just because you didn't want to ask somebody, on this path, where am I likely to get a ditch? Where am I likely to get a valley? It will be a waste of time for us not to run from the people who have already trodden on that path. And that is what is mentorship. But after that, that is backward mentorship, where you learn from others. And I can tell you practically what I've seen. There are so many people willing to hold people's hearts That person you admire to be like, maybe you'll be the second person to tell